President.
Cool.
Is that confirmed? Oh. That's a lot. Not realizing it. That's the question. Yeah. There. Okay, I got it. Yeah, yeah. Let's not compare anything. Okay. I'm sorry. You can force it out and then, or you could wait.
I don't think that was full universal. I'm missing something. What? It's a $20 what I'm thinking, so I pulled that through like information.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I get
Well, I don't know, but I'm sure you should.
Okay.
Feel like that's fair.
Almost first grade. How big's for you? 27 or 57? Two.
That's three.
Random coincidence.
You want to look at this? Yeah, no, I got FaceTime.
Look at the dates.
Yeah, they had to be subjective, but no, that he was afraid that we picked it up.
Oh,
So
okay.
I turned his face up underneath it.
I like
Yeah. Now I'm saying this is full of sorry.
It's a drought.
I'll look what's happening. It's not like the next side. Exactly.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Now I know what it is. Before. Yes, they are.
All right, reset a bit.
Oh. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That would fit the button, just as a kind of. I wonder which one you want to take. No.
What's that? Don't mind me. That wasn't my time. You're standing behind it. I'm just one that close. Okay, what?
Yes. Let's not.
He's white.
Angelo referred to it as
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in my hand.
I wonder.
Trying. Black. So it's going to be
The second you're doing the no, because you're slowing your turn. No, no. It's him, not you. Okay, there, right? Cards in hand. Okay, to reset that, your time starts now, so we can get started again.
Okay, so now we get, that's silly. Now we get to see walkers versus, okay. And the sound is good, okay. Then we will get started with actual commentary here in just a second. Okay, so this is the first featured match of day 3, where we are showing Mr. Gregory Shaw versus Matthew Harrison Trainer. It's going to be a good match. That's already underway. This is the number 2 seed Matt HT versus number 7 seed Greg. We have Communion playing against Walkers. So this broadcast is going to start a little slow. I apologize for that. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, I was just able to join now, and so I'm starting trying to describe a game that's in progress. And that's obviously going to be a challenge, but it's going to work out fantastic in the end. So Han, Chewie, and the Falcon comes out to join Lando, who's in his ship fighting over the Hoth system. They look to be going up against Darth Vader V in Conquest, as well as two other pilots who the clarity does not permit me to see. Hoth blockade is also in effect there.
So, what's the ruling of the fourth stream bonus? Just let's look at it.
And Mace is coming down to the 6th marker. He gets his lightsaber. Earlier this turn, the battle planes was almost deployed and then decided not to. Apparently, he'd rather fight on Hoth.
Yeah. No, I'm stuck. Yeah. Did you stop drawing?
I'm gonna try and forfeit 0 somebody.
And apologies for the noise. Get a good old-fashioned verify for Mr. Harris Trainer.
Yeah.
6, 7, that's my plan.
And we get two Destiny, which is going to look like a Blaster Deflection and a Leia Rebel Princess.
Same with I did, I just I'm sorry, he's 5. Yeah. They're all on that. They're all yeah. I think I just wanted to, I did this shit for the guys that I see what's going on. The man is on the ship. Any excess or about this? Whatever.
And that battle is going to end with hand shooting the Falcon, hitting the lost pile. To anyone who's interested and hadn't put it together, it is of course a Hound Shooting the Falcon V, because this is playing it is the future UC start, which prohibits the playing of the good version of Hound Shooting the Falcon. And Lando also has to go lost, which was a very good battle for Darkseid, for Mr. Harrison Trainer, who now controls the system. He has also already sent home 1 lost this turn. Not this turn, excuse me, this game. And is steadily working his way through the light side space fleet. And Mr. Harrison Trainer is doing some thinking and doing some drawing. And Mr. Shaw will be taking his turn. At this point, I have no idea what Mr. Shaw's plan for victory in this game is. He's gone through most of his space fleet. His deck doesn't appear to have all that many tricks for space. So I presume his attempt is going to be to either spread to another place on the ground and win that way, or to engage Mr. Harrison Trainer's walkers. though that fleet of walkers is quite nasty. I'm not sure that he'll have the goods to be able to mess with it. He activates. Presumably he's going to pay to drain here. Yep. He pays for the force drain. Gets Garandan Imperial Command and what surely looked like a walker. Actually, that might have been Walker Garrison. Out comes the battle planes. So it appears as though Mr. Shaw is going to attempt to either drain race for the win or just get as much damage in as he can to cut differential, since obviously differential is critical in this format. It looks like Mr. Horn is going out to the battle planes. And Obi-Wan went out to the ice planes on Hoth. So he is definitely setting up a huge amount of damage potential next turn. He's also spreading himself considerably thin, which presumably means that he has a Hujix. And he all but confirms that he has a Hujix in hand by moving a lone Obi-Wan Kenobi in front of 3 walkers. He will, however, be able to drop not drop, that Obi-Wan there will be able to mitigate a significant amount of damage. And he's going to let the Wookiee win, putting Luke Jedi Knight and Blaster Deflection down, taking Leia Rebel Princess into hand. At this point in a game, a Leia Rebel Princess is a very strong card. He has to be quite thrilled to have received her. And he recirculated. Mr. Harrison Trainer activates. And starts draining. Gets a resilience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shows his reserve deck after failing a search. The Destiny in there is reasonable. There's a 5, 2 4s, and then 2 walkers and 2 Imperials whose designation I can't quite see. One of the walkers is Blizzard 4, which is not virtual, thus Destiny 4. Blizzard 4 is going to come out against Mace. Looks like one of the Imperials is coming out of the deck. That was a Commander Igar Virtual. And the deck is going to get nice and shuffled, of course. And we have what surely looks like an image of the Dark Lord V going on table, which of course makes no sense. Nope, that's a wipe them out, all of them, I'm gonna bet. We have Destiny. Dark side hit as predicted. Light side gets a Rebel Leadership, which will get one of the dudes off of the walker. Give Dark side had about power. I'm gonna think it was about 14 to 10, somewhere around there. So Shaw chooses to lose the mace rather than to the power differential. And we're going to get a battle at the third marker where Obi-Wan is facing off. Obi-Wan gets hit with the command. And we get another leadership played. And we have a destiny of 2. That was Marquand. Obi was clearly played to add a destiny. This sure looks like R2 and red 5 and escape pod. That would be a 13 total. $13 total plus the 5 power for Obi-Wan is actually much stronger than Mr. Harrison Trainer was probably anticipating. Don't believe that Shaw had both of those destinies tracked, so he ended up getting relatively lucky. I believe he had one of them tracked. And as happens all the time in walkers, you have to count everything 40 times because of the number of modifiers. But you will lose both Imperials, and Blizzard 1 and Tempest 1 are going to stay at the site. Obi-Wan goes lost. So they're going to be looking very, very carefully here, making lots of decisions very closely, because obviously there's a lot of money on the line, and especially for Matt Harrison Trainer, though it's somewhat true of both of them, a swing beatdown here could be potentially just devastating. However, failing the absurdly unlikely beatdown, it looks at this point as though Mr. Shaw is going to be losing this game quite badly, perhaps in the 22 to 26 range. So it does move the walker over to the 5th marker, and we got lots of thinking going on. And chooses to keep Veers inside the walker. Not Veers, wow. That's not Veers at all. That's Grand Moff Tarkin. Was what I thought from the second look there, and then, though my first claim had been that it was Agar, so. And he's finally satisfied. And Greg's going to take his turn. I'll activate, and then drain at the battle planes for 2. Counting his destiny very carefully here. With that 6 and 7 back to back, he could do some surprise damage. He gets a Dark Time for the Rebellion and an Imperial Command with his drain, both from hand. And Leia Rebel Princess is going to come down. This is, of course, the Leia that he took into hand with the Let the Wookiee Win last turn. He shows us a little of his hand, which clearly shows a Master Qui-Gon. If he has that 6-7 track, he could throw the Qui-Gon and clear either of the sites, potentially. No, he would only be able to clear the ice planes. At least alone, he would be only able to. But Qui-Gon's going to go down to the defensive perimeter, and then Greg Shaw is going to call his turn. He was, of course, out of force. He had no more force available to use. Though he's going to get, presumably, he's going to be drained at the ice planes, which he may use Leia for. I certainly would. But he does not. He instead loses the R2 and Red 5 that was his tracked on top. And a let the Wookiee win. Looks suspiciously like he's like he was losing to you may start your landing. Or perhaps, it's hard to tell because I obviously don't hear what they're saying. Perhaps he did, with it only having been few force so far, it's possible that he just lost to the Admiral's order, and then as well to the, you may start your landing, and that Matthew Harrison Trainer eschewed force training at all to avoid Leia's retrieval. That means Strong Destiny, strong indications that Master Qui-Gon has just lost a battle quite badly. The Destiny was an Anakin, which won't break any immunity, which is unfortunate for Mr. Shaw. That will pull that Hujix out of his hand that he was attempting to use last turn by spreading far and wide, and ended up being unsuccessful. Last turn, of course, Matthew Harrison Trainer had 2 battles work out relatively poorly for him. This time he had one work out relatively well for him. Mr. Harrison Trainer seems to be taking a very, very long time to contemplate moves. Mr. Shaw appears to be counting cards for him. And he will move Blizzard 4 with 1 Imperial aboard over in front of Leia, Rebel Princess. And then spread his walkers out to 3 sites. That's oh, he has an unpiloted Blizzard 1. She's moving somewhere and not entirely sure that's something that's possible, but perhaps a smarter person than me would figure out exactly what has happened. Now he starts shuttling Imperials down, extra forfeit fodder at every site, leaving only 1 vehicle at the system for fodder, as well as 1 pilot aboard the Conquest. Now Leia is, of course, going to be in deep Bantha Poodoo, facing overwhelming power at both the site she's at and the only site she can escape to. Unless another Hoojix happens to be in the deck, or there is some trick by which he shall get the other Hoojix not only off the top of his lost pile and as well as back into hand, it seems likely that the next turn will be Mr. Shaw's last. But perhaps not. His reserve deck has slightly more cards than I'd anticipated. It looks to be in the 16 to 20 card range. Looked like he activated 13 there. Pays 3 to drain for 2, both coming from hand, of course. One of those was clearly a Walker Garrison. Apparently the very long time on Mr. Harrison Trainer's turn when no one was doing anything was for a rules question. I'm going to go ahead and guess that that rules question had to do with whether an unpiloted walker could move up to the system, which apparently it can. I could be completely wrong because that's purely conjecture at this point, but that seems to be the most likely explanation for why there was a rules question, and there was indeed a rules question. Mr. Shaw takes a look at the objective. It still says the same thing it said all game, but he'll take a look anyways. Oh, and there comes Luke Jedi Knight to space. Not exactly the strongest space presence you could imagine, but... Oh, snap! That's interesting. He goes to the system just so that he can land Luke to get the extra forfeit. That, folks, is just a brilliant just a simply brilliant move. And I have just received confirmation that I was correct. The empty, unpiloted vehicle shuttling to the system was indeed the rules question, which is why Mr. Harrison Trainer's turn took so long. I have to say right now, kudos go to Greg Shaw for thinking of putting Luke in space and bringing that extra forfeit down. That's definitely an innovative move that he chose to make. Perhaps to some people it's obvious, but it's clearly a good move, and it shows him not being tunnel visioned, looking at the whole board. Because obviously, with that strong of a presence at that site, he changes the dynamics of any battle that takes place there. Because Mr. Harrison Trainer's force at that site isn't that strong. He's got a Blizzard 4, but he doesn't have pilots on it because Blizzard 4 doesn't take pilots. I do believe that there are 2 Imperials on it. I believe one of them is Grand Moff Tarkin, which can add a Destiny, which is strong. But he's still looking capped out at 8 power, facing off against Luke and Leia, which has, of course, more power than that. It also has backup with the ship, who is forfeit fodder. Anyways, Mr. Harrison Trainer is doing some good thinking. And he's going to start draining. That's 1, 2. Sucks to lose an atrocity off the top. There's just no denying that. I do believe that last turn Mr. Shaw used 12 force and he had what appeared to be a 5-card hand. That would give him 17 total cards, from which he just lost 2. Ooh, and Blizzard 2 is going to come down, and he's going to get a pilot. Ooh. That can't be. That is just simply not what Mr. Shaw was hoping to see. Gonna see a Wookiee win that takes mechanical failure into hand and sets back a character and an interrupt, and I apologize because I could not tell which one was which. Looks like it's a Mace Windu and a something else. Nice to get the mechanical failure, would have been nicer several turns ago. It looks like it looks like it's Mace Windu and a Let the Wookiee win. Shaw separates his Destiny 5s there. The battle, we saw 3 Destiny versus 1 for Lando, 1 which was a Lando. That is not ideal for Mr. Shaw. Apologies on that. And Shaw has Harrison Trainer has successfully cleared Shaw off of Hoth, clearing the vehicle, Luke, and Leia with his 3 incredible destinies. Losing only 1 Imperial for the triple. So as it is becoming a Turnley ritual, Mr. Harrison Trainer rearranges his cards to redistribute the wealth. And then he is going to recycle. Recirculate, if you will. I'm going to apologize. Either their stream has stopped or their stream to me has stopped, but I am no longer receiving a live feed. Double check. Hmm.